The world will never be the same. Avengers EndGame is shattering records across the globe.
Part of the journey is the end.
Be a part of cinematic history.
Avengers!
Assemble.
Avengers EndGame, now playing.
What is good, YouTube? Warstu here with a video on Avengers EndGame and why didn't Captain Marvel wield the Infinity Gauntlet? And it's come out quite recently that Marvel Studios didn't insist on Tony Stark's death inside Avengers EndGame, which is very interesting because everyone thought that it had to be Tony, but realistically it didn't have to be Tony because Marvel Studios never told them to kill Tony Stark off. So we're going to go over them two topics. So if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe to never miss any videos. So we're doing a ticket giveaway for Spider-Man Far From Home, which comes out globally on the 2nd of July, unless you live in China. Then it comes out the week before. So let's get into this video. So Captain Marvel is arguably the strongest Avenger in EndGame, okay? Because Fat Thor was not as strong as Thor 3 Thor. Was he, or post Infinity War Thor? Because he was essentially depowered like the Hulk. So during this movie, we seen the Avengers, aka Tony Stark, realistically, make what can be seen as the nanotech Infinity Gauntlet, the one that Hulk used to wield and bring all the fallen heroes and bring the birds, the bees, and half of everything in the universe, not in the world, back to life. Even though we didn't actually get to see the Skrull, the Kree come back, it just focused on Earth, which was a bit of bad writing on their part. So essentially, he damaged himself, damaged the gauntlet as well. Kind of its nanotech, he can't really damage it, so to speak. But what is interesting is we got a very, very depowered version of Hulk in this movie. We can't really call him Professor Hulk because he's a shadow of what Professor Hulk is really like. Yes, I understand there is a character in the comics called Smart Hulk as well, but Smart Hulk, no. Okay, so Smart Hulk essentially damaged himself, even though in the comics he's got a healing factor, he can regenerate instantly. He hurt himself for literally the whole movie, and then he was useless in the final battle. We got no Hulk versus Thanos, and if you didn't notice, they actually reduced Thanos' screen time in this movie massively. It was one of the actual plot points of the movie that Thanos didn't actually get much screen time. And recently, in an interview, Thanos intentionally has less screen time. So it says this: if there was a main character in Infinity War, it was Thanos himself. The big purple baddie drives the plot forward. His aim by the closing credits. But that's not the case in EndGame. It's definitely an Avengers movie. It's the best of Avengers. Whereas the other one wasn't, says McFeely, we had to give ourselves permission to backseat the villain a little bit. I don't think anyone in the first half of the movie is going, oh, I wish there was a villain. You're rolling around in the loss and the time heist. You think it's sort of the Avengers against nature. Yes, that was intentionally pretty awesome. And also it's interesting what they said about Thanos in 2012 is a warrior. Now, Thanos is an immortal. He doesn't really age, so it literally makes no sense why the first look of Thanos looks completely different to the Thanos we got. So realistically, the Thanos who was in Infinity War would be no stronger than the Thanos in EndGame, who was the 2012 version, because he doesn't age. He's a Celestial, essentially. I know someone in the comment section is going, no, he's not a Celestial, he's a Deviant. He is essentially a Celestial. So the writers had this to say: dread him, run from him, behead him. Thanos arrives all the same, as the Avengers find out the hard way when a 2012 version of the Mad Titan pops up in 2023 to make a play for the Infinity Gauntlet. The younger incarnation of this character has a different temperament, and the directors have their own nickname for him. We referred to him as Warrior Thanos. Russo, Anthony Russo, this version of the character, before he puts down his armor and became enlightened, wanted to search for the stones. He's angrier. It might be his flaw in this film that he is a little bit more self-confident, not quite as enlightened. The writers also sought to bring a more dangerous edge to Thanos as he appears in EndGame. He is oddly for all the damage he does in Infinity War. Thanos says, Marcus, and we wanted the Warlord in the movie who hasn't quite worked out all the nonsense yet. So essentially, there should have been no variation from both of them. He's a Celestial, he's an Immortal, essentially. He would have had the same power level, but for some reason, the younger variation they gave to him was a lot stronger, which makes no sense from a storytelling point of view. So realistically, Captain Marvel, she is so OP, her powers essentially come from the Infinity Stones, kind of. So in this movie, she underestimated how dirty Thanos would be in getting her to be depowered. So essentially, she flew. She was trying to fly the Infinity Gauntlet to the Pym-mobile to order to get the stones away from him, but it ended badly. But my question is, guys, why didn't she just put it on and wield it? We know she can embrace the power. She can fly. She took out Ronan the Accuser's fleet during Captain Marvel movie. She took out Thanos' fleet, the Sanctuary 2. That is so damn powerful ship. She took it out like it was nothing. So realistically, the main reason why she didn't wield it was because then the movie would have been more about her rather than the original Avengers, and then it would have triggered people. So realistically, could she wield it? Yes, sure. But the Russo brothers recently said they weren't sure if she could do it. They weren't sure about her power level, even though she's arguably stronger than Thor when it comes to Infinity Stones. Yes, Thor did take the full power of a dying star, but that is not an Infinity Stone. So realistically, Captain Marvel, Brie Larson, Carol Danvers could have, should have wielded the Infinity Gauntlet. Obviously, it couldn't be Star-Lord because he's not a Celestial anymore because Ego the Living Planet is dead. And obviously, Peter Parker is powerful, but he couldn't wield it. So the only realistic person that could have wielded it, she could have punched him in the face with the Infinity Gauntlet, but she underestimated Thanos. Thanos took off the Power Stone, I think it was, and punched her in the face. So essentially, could Captain Marvel have wielded the Infinity Stones? Yes, 100% she could have. She is so damn powerful just by herself, and I can't wait to see more of Captain Marvel. No, that does not mean I'm woke. I'm just a fan of the character. Realistically, she could have wielded it. Marvel geared her up to be the most powerful character they've ever introduced, but did we see that? No. They held back, obviously, because she's more about Phase 4. She's the future of Marvel, just realistically being introduced in this movie. Now, what is interesting is everyone thought that Tony Stark had to die. He was always going to die. Well, it recently came out that Marvel Studios was not behind Tony Stark's death. Interesting. So in this movie, Tony Stark sacrificing himself to wipe out Thanos. It's one hell of a way to bring closure to a 22 movie arc. But while it makes perfect sense and logical end for the original Iron Man, Stark's death wasn't assisted upon by Marvel Studios, which is interesting. So I know fans, there's a fan petition to bring Tony Stark back. I think it was a fitting ending, but realistically, he didn't have to die. It said this, Marvel as a whole said, we think it might be time for Tony to die, but this is where it gets interesting, guys. But if you have a good reason not to, feel free, we'll do whatever, says Marcus. But really, it did not seem like, particularly with what Tony experienced after the 5-year break, that he'd gotten married and had a kid and is living a very healthy life. Peaceful life for once. He had 5 full years of no surprises, that there wasn't anywhere left that he needed to go. This was a guy who made his full journey, went full circle, all the way to the end, had experienced a full rehabilitation of his career, from being a douchebag from the beginning of Iron Man 1 to make a full sacrifice that Steve Rogers would have made had he had the opportunity and just felt really right. So essentially, Iron Man didn't have to die, but Marvel Studios wanted to kill him. And also, it was recently revealed it was Robert Downey Jr.'s choice for Tony Stark to die quietly. It seemed like he had an option. So realistically, what did the Russo bros say about why Captain Marvel didn't wield the Infinity Gauntlet? Essentially, Tony Stark was closer. And that is literally it. Realistically, there's a theory going around that it's because the Infinity Gauntlet was damaged and he had the nanotech suit on and it was essentially repair himself, use the Mind Stone in order to get all the stones back in, like Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man's suit. And realistically, that theory is BS because the Gauntlet still worked. It's not like the Gauntlet repaired itself. Oh wait, it's nanotech. It literally can repair itself. So realistically, Captain Marvel could have wielded it, but like I said, that would have overshadowed the narrative of the movie being about the original Avengers. I just find it very interesting that no one is saying, why didn't Captain Marvel wield the Infinity Gauntlet when they marketed this movie around Captain Marvel being the strongest Avenger? Everyone thought she was going to be the one to take out Thanos. But realistically, it was just Iron Man. And like I said, Marvel Studios didn't push for the Iron Man death. That was done by, I presume, the screenwriters, which was interesting. It was fitting, very fitting. So guys, let me know down below. Should Captain Marvel have actually wielded the Infinity Gauntlet herself? Would have it made more sense going forward? Well, no, not really. Well, it could have done because obviously Thanos, the one that got beheaded by Thor, he smashed the Infinity Gauntlet to atoms. So there is no real need for the Infinity Gauntlet anymore. It's just very interesting. I won't really be doing any more Avengers Endgame topic points. I just came across this and find it very interesting that Marvel Studios is getting a lot of flack for killing off Iron Man, and then in an interview it comes out that there was no push. They said maybe you should kill Tony Stark off because of he started everything, but they didn't force him at all, which is very interesting as a reviewer, as someone that talks to an audience on YouTube. I thought it'd be very interesting to have a conversation to you guys about why it was not Marvel's fault about Iron Man dying and sacrificing himself. And also, why didn't Captain Marvel wield the Gauntlet? Let me know down below, guys. I want to have a healthy discussion down below. Now, on recent Captain Marvel videos, some of you guys go really hard on Captain Marvel, go hard on Brie Larson. Dudes, if you don't like Captain Marvel, the character, that is cool, but you don't have to talk about the actual individual that plays the character. I get it. Some of you don't like Captain Marvel. I just think it would have been badass had Captain Marvel punched him in the face while wielding the Infinity Gauntlet and having the full power of the Gauntlet punched in his face, killing him. That would have been much better ending for me, but that's just me. So like always, guys, let me know all your thoughts down below. That would be very interesting. I'm going to end this video with something interesting. So the last question I'm going to go over is this part here. The dead characters won't rebooted anytime soon because a lot of people seem to think that Robert Downey Jr. is going to return, Captain America, Chris Evans is going to return, but essentially this was saying, according to the writers, that's not the case. Don't expect to see a new Tony Stark or a new Steve Rogers anytime soon. It's the nature of the MCU, argues Marcus. It's not a place where you can reboot one and suddenly Iron Man is 15 years old and everyone else is still the same age. The characters have passed out. The universe has to stand still. So if you're going to take people off the board, they've got to go for real. Granted, these are movies. I understand that somebody has made some kind of announcement that the word of Vision is in it. So it's just interesting. This was taken off the Empire podcast studio spoiler with the Russo bros, Marcus and Christopher McFeely. So that's interesting, guys. I will link it down below if you ask. It's a quite interesting read. So like always, guys, let me know everything that you think down below. And don't go ham on Captain Marvel because it ain't her fault. I just think it would have been more interesting if Captain Marvel punched Thanos in the face with the Infinity Gauntlet, wielding the full power of all the stones at the same time. Because let's be honest, guys, she could have taken it. Yes, it might have hurt her temporarily, but she could have taken it. So like always, guys, please like, subscribe, and comment. Let's get this channel up to 100,000 subscribers because damn, we deserve it. Anyway, guys, I'll catch you in that next video very soon. Catch you later.